Las Vegas, 1991. Neon lights bled into the desert night. Casinos breathed money, smoke, and secrets. Every man, woman, and shadow had a price. Vincent Moretti arrived with nothing but a suitcase and a quiet hunger. He wasn't born into the Mafia. He came to matter. And Vegas was the kind of city that tested such desires immediately. He started as a numbers runner at the Belladonna Casino, collecting debts silently. Low pay, high risk, but he learned fast. Power came from information, not violence. The first man to notice Vincent was Anthony Big Tony Calderone. Short, heavy-set gray suits that smelled like old money and cigar smoke. Tony didn't threaten. Fear followed him naturally. One Tuesday, a subtle nod changed Vincent's life forever. Vincent was summoned. Private elevator. No mirrors, 3 chairs. Tony, Frank Russo, and Michael St. Donovan. A Phoenix crew had been encroaching. Vincent was the invisible man, ideal for surveillance. He followed Daniel Cross, a banker laundering money. 3 weeks of observation, nodding habits, routines, lies. When the job ended, leverage replaced bullets. Daniel begged. Tony accepted. Vincent learned the first truth. Vegas ran on fear. Months passed. Vincent rose in Tony's organization, meeting judges, cops, and politicians, faces that hid agendas. That was when Alina Cruz entered. Sharp, observant, dangerous. Logistics handler at the Mirage. They met in a bar. Vincent was meant to watch her, he listened instead. He fell for her. That was mistake number 2. By 1993, Vincent became Tony's trusted voice. Vegas was no longer neutral. Chicago and New York alliances eyed it. Tony trusted Vincent too much. Someone else was watching, someone close. The city never forgives hesitation. 1993 bled into 1994. Vegas lights glimmered, tourists oblivious, but shadows were shifting. Tony Calderone's empire faced pressure. Chicago crews, New York operatives, and a silent strategist from Los Angeles, Richard Hale, entered the mix. Hale wasn't a gangster. He was more dangerous, a man who manipulated systems, not men. Vincent realized that survival required more than loyalty. It required foresight. St. Donovan, Tony's right-hand man, began involving Vincent in confidential meetings. Tony's absence meant trust, or perhaps isolation. Vincent learned to read the silences. Every pause held intention. Every handshake carried a secret. The first true crisis arrived with Alina's disappearance. A single payphone call at 3:14 a.m. "Don't come looking for me." Fear hit Vincent. Alina wasn't just logistics, she was leverage, a hidden federal agent embedded for years. Tony confirmed she worked for the feds. Vincent was given an impossible task: find her quietly before anyone else did. Saint cautioned this was a trap, maybe for Vincent, maybe for Alina, maybe for Tony himself. Following her trail revealed Hale's reach. He wasn't negotiating. He was destabilizing Tony's empire using financial audits, informants, and quiet pressure. Corporate warfare hidden in casino paperwork. Vincent found Alina outside Barstow, hiding in a motel. She explained everything, recruited years ago, trained, embedded, handled by Hale. But she had fallen in love, her allegiance compromised. Together they plotted escape, aware that every step carried risk. Back in Vegas, chaos accelerated. Warehouses burned, crews vanished, and Tony grew nervous. Saint and Vincent realized the betrayal was Alina. It was internal, too close to ignore. In Las Vegas, proximity is deadly. By 1994, the city had grown tense. Tony Calderone called a private meeting with Vincent and St. Donovan. The office was unusually quiet. No guards, no background noise. Vincent noticed the absence. The danger was closer than ever. Saint revealed a truth Vincent had feared. He had always been a pawn, positioned to replace Tony if needed. Alina's involvement complicated Saint's plan. Vincent realized Saint wasn't merely Tony's subordinate. He had been orchestrating events quietly, modernizing operations, cutting old loyalties, ensuring he controlled the next generation. Saint's power move was inevitable. Guns were drawn, shots fired. Tony fell not from immediate violence but from the understanding that his era had ended. Saint was ascendant and Vincent's role became murky. He was a witness, a potential successor, and a threat simultaneously. The city didn't react. Vegas adapts. Predators wait, systems stabilize, and power shifts silently. Vincent worked with Alina to trace Hale's financial and operational control. Evidence revealed Hale's manipulation. He had destabilized old families, created informants, and centralized power under Saint's evolving machine. Vincent realized the challenge: dismantle the system before it fully consumed Saint's vision, all while avoiding exposure. Vegas taught Vincent a cruel lesson. You can never fully own power, only influence it. And influence is fragile, dependent on fear, timing, and perception. By the end of the year, Saint was the undisputed controller of the city's underworld. But Vincent and Alina plotted quietly, learning, waiting for a leverage point that could topple the new king. By 1995, Saint Donovan's control was near total. Casinos, logistics, and crews operated under his quiet, efficient tyranny. Violence was minimal, profits high. But Vincent understood the city had weaknesses. Every system has cracks. Every empire pressure points. Vincent and Alina mapped those cracks: financial audits, obscure contracts, and overlooked compliance officers. One misfiled report, one discrepancy, enough to create suspicion. The feds didn't need direct evidence. The suggestion of corruption was enough to destabilize Saint's operations. Hale's greed accelerated his downfall. He pushed centralization further, unknowingly exposing Saint's system. Federal investigations began quietly, targeting offices, storage, and data, not public casinos. Saint reacted, removing threats swiftly, but Vincent anticipated his moves, leaking subtle evidence that tied Saint to Tony Calderon's death and financial irregularities. Saint's calm began to fracture. A trusted ally was arrested, another disappeared. The city remained unaware, but Saint felt the walls close in. Vincent, working in shadows, leveraged this stress without firing a shot. The game had shifted. It was no longer about loyalty. It was about perception, timing, and control of information. The first true confrontation loomed. Saint demanded a sit-down at Belladonna Casino. Vincent and Alina prepared. For the first time, Vincent realized winning might not mean taking Saint down. It meant surviving him while letting the city itself apply the pressure. The Belladonna Casino, 1995. Neon lights reflected on polished marble. Vincent entered alone. Saint Donovan was already there. No guns drawn. The tension was silent, thick. Every past betrayal, every calculated move, led to this moment. "You could have ruled," Saint said. Voice calm, almost amused. "I chose consequence," Vincent replied. Alina appeared from the shadows unannounced. Saint froze for the first time. She carried evidence: hard copies, recordings, financial contracts linking Saint directly to Tony Calderon's death. Not enough for conviction, but enough to destabilize him. "You should have stayed gone," Saint said. "So should you," Alina replied. Saint realized his position, outmaneuvered not by violence but by strategy. Vincent and Alina had turned his strengths, control, efficiency, loyalty, into vulnerabilities. The feds did not storm in. The evidence would speak first, leaving him isolated. Saint accepted it silently. No theatrics, no last-minute betrayal. The man who had controlled Las Vegas through fear and precision was quietly dismantled, removed from power by a combination of timing, information, and patience. The city didn't blink. It continued to hum with neon life. Vegas rewarded survival, not heroes. Vincent, Alina, and the city itself had endured, reshaping power without fanfare, without spectacle. The predator had been contained, not destroyed, but made irrelevant. Vincent understood a truth few did. In Las Vegas, the city is the ultimate judge, and survival depends on knowing when to move and when to disappear. By 1996, Las Vegas had stabilized. Saint Donovan was gone, Hale imprisoned, Tony Calderon long dead. Casinos operated smoothly, crews adjusted to committees instead of kings. The city had absorbed the chaos and learned a cruel lesson: no single man rules forever. Vincent remained in the shadows. No office, no title, only influence where necessary. He monitored the city, not to control it, but to understand it. He rebuilt connections quietly, ensuring that old mistakes wouldn't allow a new saint to rise. Elena sent one postcard from Montreal. Some cities teach you who you are, others teach you who you aren't. Vincent smiled. She had escaped the system, unlike him. New players emerged, ambitious, clever, naive. Vincent advised some, ignored others. The city taught patience, observation, and discretion. The mistakes of the past became lessons he passed on silently. Vegas glittered as always, but Vincent knew the truth. The city doesn't forgive, it adapts. It reshapes power quietly, punishes ambition indiscriminately, and rewards those who vanish before the lights find them. Vincent kept the belladonna chip, a reminder that power is fleeting and survival is the only certainty. He had outlasted kings and empires, learned the cost of loyalty, and understood that fading away can be the most profound victory. By 1997, Vincent thought he had vanished completely. He was invisible, untouchable. Yet Las Vegas never forgets completely. A new figure appeared, Thomas Reed, unremarkable at first glance but unnervingly precise. Reed met Vincent in a diner off Boulder Highway. "You left something unfinished," he said. A folder slid across the table. Inside were Vincent's own documents, meetings, decisions, strategies, all evidence of his influence over the city's post-Saint structure. Vincent realized Reed was not just auditing him, he was auditing Las Vegas itself. "You decentralized the system. That's more effective than Saint ever was," Reed noted. Vincent understood. His survival had allowed the city to evolve, but it had also made him part of the system he never intended to control. The realization was sobering. He hadn't defeated Saint or Hale. He had merely become an architect of a quieter, subtler empire of power. Reed didn't threaten him. He only reminded Vincent that the city outlives men, reshapes itself around them, and eventually makes them irrelevant. Vincent left, silently accepting that fading away was the only way to remain free. The lesson was clear. In Las Vegas, survival doesn't mean winning. It means understanding when to step aside, when to influence, and when to disappear completely. By 1999, Vincent had vanished from all records. Las Vegas glimmered as always, neon, noise, and motion, but the city had changed. No single king, no visible hierarchy. Committees and systems replaced rulers. The final message came quietly, a headline about the collapse of the Horizon Network, a decentralized financial system Vincent had inadvertently shaped. Analysts were baffled. He smiled. The city didn't need him anymore. It had absorbed his influence, neutralized the chaos, and evolved. Vincent realized the truth. Power never leaves Las Vegas. It merely adapts, wearing different suits, operating in new shadows. Men like Saint, Hale, and Tony were numbers in a system that no longer required them. He had survived because he understood one lesson: the city does not forgive, it does not reward, it simply recalibrates. Walking through the desert at dawn, Vincent felt lighter than ever. Not forgiven, not absolved, unnecessary, and that was freedom. Las Vegas never forgets, but it forgets individuals first. The lights will continue, predators will emerge, and empires will rise and fall, but fading away is the only ending the city truly respects. Vincent had learned to disappear, and in that disappearance lay the ultimate victory: survival, quiet, and absolute. The city waits, and the city remembers only what it chooses. Vincent had survived, and that in Las Vegas is the final word.